Hi, I'm Angela Quiros, and today I will tell you a story about a coconut tree, a little girl, her godmother, and a seagrass bed that brought them all together. So my family is from a small island on the western edge of the Pacific Ocean in the tropics in the country of the Philippines. And as a little girl, I used to visit my family's beach resort and visit my favorite coconut tree. So this coconut tree was tall and leaned its neck out into the water like a giraffe sipping from a water hole. I'd climb up on this coconut tree, sit down, jump in the water, climb up again, and look out towards the breakwater. So this breakwater was a bunch of rocks thrown there by a typhoon years and years ago. But now, the water was lapping peacefully at the rocks, and below, varied colors of reef-building coral grew beneath. Between the white sand shore and this breakwater were green, blue, and brown patchwork quilt of flowing, waving vegetation underneath. This was a seagrass bed. And amongst the greens and blues and brown were these round pools of blue. It was actually made blue because the sand was white underneath, and during low tide, as a kid, I used to sit in these warm tubs, rub my feet against the sand and the mud like a home spa. Years later, I was at the same beach, looking out at the seagrass bed, admiring it. Well, out of nowhere, my godmother comes up. So when you have fine tropical white sands, when you walk on it, you actually don't hear anything. So it felt like she was coming out of nowhere. I look at her, and she's there with her flowing, colorful, tropical sarong and a bathing suit, walking towards me, smiling. And then she asked a question which made my mouth drop. Angela, is it okay if we remove the seagrass right here in the front of the resort so we can have a nice, clean swimming area for our guests? I didn't know what to say. Here I was, a marine scientist researching seagrasses, and I was to contribute to the statistic that seagrasses in the world, 60% of them are declining due to human impacts. What was I to say? And then I paused, and I thought, actually, I came from the same place. Because in the Philippines, there's this cultural misconception that seagrass beds are this dirty, itchy, mucky place that you have to walk through before you go to the nice coral reefs with all the fish and the clear water. As a child, I was scared of seagrass beds. I was scared of the dark, long spines of the sea urchins, or stepping on a venomous stonefish, or the slimy moray eels. I didn't like to be in a seagrass bed. But when I grew up, I started studying them, and as a scientist, the more you know about something, the more you learn to love it. So I would take people on a seagrass snorkel, and I'll take you all on a seagrass snorkel. So get ready, have your mask and your fins, and do not step on the sand, the ground, because if you do, you will stir up a lot of mud and silt, and that'll ruin the visibility. So you actually have to ease in with your fins as a hippo eases into some water. So let's go, two of us hippos. We look down, and there's these seagrass blades that extend from the ground up to the top of the waters. And the water is warm like a bathtub, and it's calm like a swimming pool with no one in it. But the swimming pool has a whole miniature forest underneath. On these long blades are round balls of light, and they're sticking along all the blades, and slowly, pop, pop, the balls rise up to the water column. We are watching seagrass add oxygen to the water. Below that is a network of roots connecting one seagrass plant to the other and storing carbon and holding down sediment and silt and mud, making the water clearer. We're swimming, and we see little fish eating epiphytes, or algae and invertebrates living on the seagrass blades. We see a hole, an apartment shared by a goby and a shrimp. We see crabs scuttling about looking for food. This is the seagrass bed I know. So I asked my aunt, will you come on a snorkel with me in the seagrass bed? And she said, oh, no, I don't have time. I have too many things to do. I don't want to get itchy and salty and wet, and they'll look the same anyway. I didn't know what to say. I said, well, actually, tita, which is what we call our aunts in the Philippines, tita, there's 5 species of seagrass right in front. And in addition to this diversity, a lot of species, it's abundant and it's lush. This is actually a good sign for your hotel guests because it shows that you have a healthy marine environment right in front. She looked visibly impressed. She's like, oh, that's interesting. Well, I'll just go back to the hotel and do more of my work. She said, go snorkel by yourself. I'm like, so I went on a snorkel by myself and I collected 5 species of seagrass blades. But first, let me tell you about this tita of mine. She's an artist and she's an architect. Her artwork is seen around the resort and she designed the beautiful spa buildings and the hotel and the grounds around. So I decided to make a little project. You know how people press wildflowers for art? Well, I pressed seagrass. I cleaned it, I pressed it on lovely pressing paper, and I arranged it artistically. And I highlighted that there's so many different ways seagrasses can grow in different shapes. You have long, strap-like blades. You have seagrasses that look like green spaghetti, seagrasses as thin as hair, seagrasses that look like little small clovers. After pressing it, I framed it and gave it to my tita. I returned back to the United States to continue my studies, but the following summer, continuing research in our same family beach resort, I decided to visit my favorite coconut tree. Under the coconut tree, with its neck leaning over the water like a giraffe, I saw the green, blues, and brown patchwork quilt waving underneath this marine flowering plant that remained there. So the lesson I learned from this is that you could have people close to you, people you love, who have different opinions about things. But if you reach at them with the same values, you can get to the final place at the same time. Thank you.